gone, love is gone, it's gone, they gone.
So, everything you ever heard about becoming a dad is true. It's transformational. It makes you re-examine your whole life. I'm the father of 2 boys, 7 and 4, and not long after they were born, I became committed to 3 things about the way I was going to live my life. I wanted to be the best human being possible. I wanted to show unconditional love, and I wanted a vasectomy. Don't get me wrong, I adore my boys, and I adore being their father, and they're at that magical age where they idolize me, and that's a real rush. Just the other day, I was on the phone with our cousin Ron, and after I hung up, my older son said, "Why did Ron call?" And I said, well, he needed help with his taxes, and so he called me. And he said, but why did he call you? And I said, because that's what family does. We help each other. And someday when I need help, Ron will be there for me. And my son looked at me with this puzzled face and he said, but you're daddy, you never need help. It really is a rush. But I'm done. See, I have 2 happy, healthy boys. What more could I want? And the way I see it, I've exceeded the national average of 1.7 children, so I'm like an overachiever. Frankly, it's what my dad did, it's what my older brother did, it's what a man does in my family. But taking this conviction and turning it into action was another story. I was gonna have to go see my doctor, I was gonna have to get a referral, research urologists, figure out if it's covered by insurance. So I figured the only way I was gonna really make this happen is if I took concrete action. So I took a bold step and I put it on my to-do list. Right under update resume, but above clean the garage. I figured that was about right. For the next few months, I socialized the idea with my friends and family. Men had a very strong reaction to this suggestion. They would wince, they would cross their legs, they would say things like, it's unnatural, you'll be less of a man. My 16-year-old nephew asked me what I was going to do if my voice changed. And inevitably, their conversation would turn to, what's wrong with other forms of contraception? To which I would say, things break, accidents happen, and frankly, abstinence is not an option. But they were never convinced. To me, this was a no-brainer. This was like your 401k account. It's about long-term peace of mind and security. Women were much more supportive. One told me it was romantic. Another one said it was a noble thing to do. I liked that, noble. Although sometimes they didn't know what the hell they were talking about. One female colleague said to me, David, don't worry about losing your sex drive. I had it done to my dog, and he still humps everything. I knew she meant well. I didn't know how to tell her I wasn't being castrated. But more months went by, and I wasn't getting shit done on my to-do list. But one day I'm at work, and I'm in a meeting, and after the meeting breaks up, I stick around with a colleague of mine, Rich, and a new member of our team, a man named Jiffy. And we're getting to know each other, and we're asking Jiffy questions, and he's asking us questions. We're talking about work and family and kids. Rich, who has 4 kids, who's a real overachiever, he mentions the V word. He says vasectomy. He says jokingly, oh, I need to get a vasectomy. But what really shocked me was what Jiffy said back to him. He said, I can help you with that. What? What? I can help you with that. Turns out Jiffy was an Army doctor. And he goes on to explain to us how he's done dozens of them. He tells us that he can order the supplies, and he says, I can even schedule the clinic on the 3rd floor of the building, and we can get it done. Rich and I have more questions we need to ask him, but Jiffy has to go to his next meeting, and as he walks out the door, he says, call me. So Rich and I are left in the room, looking at each other, and Rich at that point says the most manly thing possible. I'll do it if you do it. Rich just double dog dared me, but he didn't have to, because Jiffy had me at call me. 2 weeks later, I'm in Jiffy's office for mandatory pre-op counseling. Jiffy's a young Asian doctor, he's in his 30s. He talks at about 1,000,000 miles an hour, usually on 3 subjects at once. Being in the room with Jiffy is like being with somebody on their 5th cup of coffee, no matter what time of day it is. And so he's bombarding me with statistics and information and brochures and diagrams about the vasectomy. As we're talking, he emails me a PowerPoint presentation called You and Your Vasectomy. He digresses into a story about Las Vegas and how next to gambling, the 3 biggest industries there are marriage, divorce, and vasectomy reversals. I'm not sure what his point is, but we move on. I'm pretty comfortable with everything that he's telling me, except for at one point he refers to this as microsurgery, and I'm like, he hasn't even done the physical exam. As I'm getting ready to leave, he goes into his cabinet, he takes out a pill, and he puts it in a small envelope, and he says, this is a Valium. You need to take it 1 hour before the procedure, and don't forget you need somebody to pick you up when it's done. I'm about to go out the door, and he says to me, David, let me ask you something. And for the first time, his voice is slow and deliberate. Sure. If your kids died in a car accident tomorrow, would you want to start a family again? It's like he had punched me in the stomach and knocked the wind out of me. And I was also incensed that he could even suggest such a thing. But I was also scared because I didn't know what my answer was. But he wasn't really looking for an answer right then and there. He was just doing his job. Let's talk next week, he said. The following week, I called Jiffy and I confirmed the appointment, 10 days from that day. Rich books his appointment for the same day, like a good wingman. Seven days before V-Day, I'm having trouble concentrating at work. And it's not because I'm scared, it's because I'm thinking about things like the time off I'm going to get after the procedure, sort of a vasectomy vacation. I'm thinking about taking a Valium for the first time and what that's going to be like. I'm thinking about Rich's dare. And I'm thinking about the best part of all this, which is after the procedure, the only way to make sure that it was effective is I have to give a sample. But before I can give a sample, I have to, according to Jiffy, clear the tubes. And so to clear the tubes means I have to masturbate a lot. At least 20 times, according to Jiffy. And I'm not talking about shameful hiding in the bathroom masturbation. This is going to be like my job. It's going to be my duty, and I take pride in what I do. So there I am at work, instead of thinking about this noble thing I'm about to do, I'm thinking about what's the quickest turnaround time for an effective sample, and whatever it is, I bet I could beat it. 3 days before V-Day, Rich says we need to talk. Rich is Catholic, and he tells me that he's canceling his appointment. He cites religious reasons, but I'm kind of thinking that Jiffy got to him. 2 days before V-Day, Jiffy calls. He says he's got a scheduling conflict. He says we can do it if I really need to, but he suggests we postpone. The day before V-Day, I call Jiffy and I tell him we'll reschedule. That was many months ago, and I haven't called. And every day I open the drawer at my desk, and there's that little envelope with the Valium in it reminding me that I'm supposed to pick up the phone. But frankly, both Jiffy and Rich have moved on. They're no longer there. So I'm right back where I started. But you know what? My resume's still crap and my garage is still cluttered. Thank you.
I like Daddy the most because he always does a lot of fun stuff with us. Like he always takes us to the pool. He always invites our friends over, and I really like that he does that.
Hi, my name's Daniel. I have the very best dad ever. I love him. The thing that I like about him is that he plays Scrappy with me.